All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming. And in the last video, as you can see right now, it's just about done producing. I started to take the BMI program that we had added ArrayList to in the GUI version, and I'm starting to make it into a console app. It's not finished, so let's continue on. One thing I was thinking about, right now, if you do put in a 4, it does this. So right now, in other words, if you put that in, what it does is, for lack of better words, it forces the program to end. And it's not that that's a bad thing or a good thing, but let's do this. Let's do let's write a routine in here. We'll call it exit program. So we've got our input, all these. Let's write one more. That's our create menu. There's our write out all statistics, etc. I don't know how many of these we're going to use and how we're going to use them. So let's see. We've got create menu. I thought we added those. There we go. So we're going to take this and let's make a static bool, and we'll call it exit program or not, like we've been doing. Now we're going to get an error. So right now, let's just, as it says, we'll just return something. It doesn't matter even what. All right. But I'm going to write this. We'll make it very short. And we'll just ask the user. So we'll say, write, are you certain you want to end the program now? We'll tell them to enter either a Y or an end, a yes or no. Okay. All right. And I'll say string, we'll call it confirmation, equals read line. And let's even do a dot trim. So if there's any garbage in there, dot to upper. All right. And let's see. Again, we're going to come in here. We're going to change this to. So we're going to get rid of this for now. And we'll say our keep running equals exit program. Whoops, exit program or not. All right. We really don't even need a break because it won't be hit. So we'll just do it like that. And it's telling us control cannot fall out. All right, we will put a break in there. I don't think it'll ever be hit, but that's fine. Okay. So now we've got, are you certain you want to end the program? Yes or no? Okay, we're going to say read line, confirmation equals read line. Let's make another thing in here. In fact, let's do it like this. We're going to say string confirmation. How about just confirm equals nothing, and string first char is also, in fact, we'll make it a character. Char first char, and we'll have that equal to nothing as well. All right. So what am I doing here? Why am I doing it, etc.? First of all, we're going to make this confirm. All right. And now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say first char equals confirm 0. So I'm just grabbing that first character. All right. So if first char not equal to yes, return false. And otherwise, we're going to return true. Okay, let's see if that works. So again, play computer here. We should be asking if they want in the first, one in the program. But if we put in yes, we only want to grab the first character. If that first character is not a Y, we'll return false. You don't want to end the program. Otherwise, we'll return true. So let's save this. We might have to put in, for example, we might have to put in a read line or a write line or something in here, but 4. Yeah. Are you certain you want to end the program now? So if I say no, did I do it backwards? If the first character is not Y, we return false. All right. If this is false, I think it's backwards. I think we want to return true. And that'll be a false. All right. And again, we can pretty this up a little. We can do a \n and a \t. All right. And it'll look a little nicer. In fact, we can do a couple \n's there. Okay. I don't want to get too hung up on this. So there you go. So if I put in a 4, are you certain you want to end the program now? If I put in no, okay, it'll ask us to do it again. But if we put in a 4 and I put in either a Y, how about just yes like that? The program ends. Good. All right, so we've got that done. Now, let's input a new record here. And I am going to do it like this. All right. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say string first name. And we're going to call this just validate. We're going to write our own routine. We'll call it validate string input. All right. And we will put in there what basically, for lack of better words, what we want in there. So we will put in enter first name and our field name, which will be first name. Now, as we do this, we're going to get an error because validate string input doesn't exist. So let's write it right below here. All right. So we'll say static string validate. I don't know what happened there. Static string. Be consistent there, Jeff. Validate string input. And it'll take in what? A prompt. And a field name. All right. Now it's got to return a string, so we'll have to do that. All right. How about we'll say while true, and I'm going to say write prompt. So that's going to be right. Whoops, just prompt. So that is going to say enter first name right here. It's going to do this. All right. So string input equals read line dot trim. We don't need to do an upper or a lower on there. That's fine. Now we can call, we're going to say var is valid message equal, now we can say validation both dot validate required string. And we can pass in the input and the field name. Now it's either going to be valid because we put something in, or it's going to be invalid because we didn't put anything in. All right? So if is valid, in fact, not valid. So if not is valid, so if what we put in is invalid, we want to return the input. Otherwise, we don't need an else. We just want to say right line error. Let's put a couple more like that. And we will do a right line I'll just do it like this. With a message. All right. Now, is this going to work? I'll tell you in a minute. Because the next thing we're going to want to do is the same thing, but with the last name. So let's see what this does, if anything. Hopefully I don't have any errors in here. Remember, this is now for a 1. So enter first name. All right, we got to move that over. If I leave it empty, enter last name. I'm leaving them empty. And it isn't doing anything. Well, how about if we do put in a name? It's giving us an error. All right, I might have done this backwards then, and that's okay. Let's take a look at our code. Validate string input, enter first name, while true, right prompt. Okay, is valid. Actually, if it is valid, we want to return the input. Otherwise, there was an error. And let's do this too. Let's go where we have the prompt. There, we've got those now. All right. 1, enter first name, Jeff. Enter last name, Scott. Oops. Okay, that's working. That's good. And let's, where we've got this, let's do another couple backslash n's there. So enter first name, enter last name. Okay, that's done. So I've now got the first name and the last name handled. All right. Well, what's left? Well, the height and the weight. And we're going to say int height. Let me turn this off for a minute. right, so what I want to do now is I want to go and I want to create or allow the user to input their height and their weight. All right, and to do that, I'm going to write a validate int input, and it will say height. How about enter height in inches, and the name height, and we'll say int weight equals validate int input, and we'll say enter weight in pounds, and it will be weight. Now we're getting errors because again that has not yet been written. So we've got validate, we've got their validate string input, but now we need validate int input. All right, so that'll be the next one that we're going to write right now. So it's going to have to return an int because it's going to be the height or the weight. So we'll put here static int and we called it validate int input. And it will have a string for the prompt, and again a string for the field name. But we're also going to need a couple more things, and I need to pass those. And we will need an int for the min and an int for the max. All right, and we'll fix this in just a second. Now, when we call this, we're going to have to pass in min height and max height. And when we do it here, we're going to have to pass in min weight and max weight. All right, now that'll handle it. Okay, now we're not returning anything right now, so if we do want this to work, we can just type in return 0. All right, now we have no errors, but let's quick write this. All right, so we're going to read in some kind of a value. So we'll say int value. We won't even initialize it. We could initialize it to 0. All right, but again, kind of like before, I'm going to say while true, we'll say bool, we'll just call it OK, equals validation both dot validate required numeric. All right, and we're going to have to pass to that the prompt, the field name, the min, the max, and an out, which we'll call value. All right, now it doesn't like something, but that's okay. We're going to work on it in just a second. If okay, return value. Now, we're going to try to fix this in just a second here. But what we're saying here is we got some kind of a value. This is going to be what we're reading in for the height or for the weight. All right, we're going to call validate required numeric. We're going to pass in the prompt, which is we enter height or enter weight. We'll pass in the field name, which will be height or weight. We'll pass in the min, which is either going to be min height or min weight. The max, which will be either max height or max weight. And have an out value. And I think it's giving me an error because I need to say int. Or maybe not. I don't think we do need to say what kind it is. All right. We need validation both. Dot. So we got prompt, field name, min, max, and out value. If it's okay, what doesn't it like here? No overload for required numeric takes 5 values. All right, well then I was wrong with what I thought this took, so let's look. Oh, it's validate integer input. That's what I want to use there. Okay, well, I guess that one was meant to run with. Okay. Well, let's look and see what we've got in here. Yeah, that was a text box, and since we're not going to be able to use that here. Validate required numeric. Return false, it's required. Parse. Return true and no message. Okay. Well, there's an attempt to get valid integer input. What is that one doing? All right, there's valid decimal. So after that should be valid integer input. Prompt, name, min, max, and value. Looks like that's the one we want. We don't need this return 0 anymore. All right, now hopefully, we now have input and output. So in other words, we should be able to go in now and put in what we want. Let's again put in here a \t and another \t. All right, so file, save all. Right now, I'm just going to assume everything we put in here works. So 1, first name, Jeff, last name, Scott, height in inches, 72, weight in pounds, 110. That's not true, but you get the idea. Okay, I think for this to look decent, I have to do that. No, that's backwards. All right. 1, enter first name, Jeff. Okay, got to fix that. Enter last name, Scott. Enter height in inches, 72. Enter weight in pounds, 200. All right, so that's all working now. All right, so now I should have a valid height and ideally a valid weight. So now we should be able to call, after we do this, so input new person record. All right, so after all of this worked, now we should be able to call calculate BMI status, and we should be able to put in the height and the weight. And that's a little c. That's okay. We should be able to come in where we've got this. There it is. I'm going to make that a little c. I think it looks better. Whoops. It's more in line with what I've been doing. So there's all that. And after we calculate the BMI, we want to calculate BMI here. And all right, that doesn't like something. Oh, I know. Double BMI equals calculate BMI. All right. String BMI status equals calculate BMI status. Okay, well, now we're getting there. It says it does not exist, so let's look. Calculate BMI. Yep. Calculate BMI. And calculate BMI status. Okay, we've got all those. Let's see what happens. So, 1, Jeff, Scott, 72, 200. Okay, the good news is it didn't give us any errors. All right, so, oh, we didn't call that write all statistics or whatever the heck that was called. Let's go back to our program, which is here. And I don't need all of these or these. There. I think that should make it look a little bit nicer. All right, let's take a look at what we've got. So when we get done with all this, we have to call output. Well, I thought that's what we called it. Let's look. You calculate BMI, write out all statistics, and we'll make that a little w. And we are going to need to add in there string first name, string last name. All right, and we're going to write out all the statistics. So we'll do a write line. And it'll say name, let's clean this up. So we're going to use the $sign for all these. So name, okay, so that should be the first name and the last name. All right, I don't think we need all these. So height, We'll do one tab there. All right. Then we'll do the weight. Then the BMI. That'll probably need about 2 tabs. And the BMI status. Now, this is going to look a little funky until I clean it up a little bit, but that's okay. All right, we're going to put a \T in front of each one of these. All right, now we can put a couple of \Ns here. Oops, T. There we go. So let's try it. Again, I'm more concerned now, does it work? Oh, we got an error. Now we can call output write out all. Come on, Jeff. Write out all statistics. And we'll need the first name, the last name, the height, the weight, the BMI, and the BMI status. All right. I just want to see what's going to happen now. File, save all. All right. 1. Enter first name, Jeff. Enter last name, Scott. Enter height in inches, 72. Weight in pounds, 200. Well, doesn't look, it's not terrible. And we can do that. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at what we've got in just 1 second here. All right. All right. Really, the only thing I have to do here is kind of pretty this up a little bit. All right. So we've got name. Probably should have at least 1 more, maybe 2 more here. Height, probably 1 more. Weight, probably 1 more. BMI, probably 2 more. Or 1 more on BMI status. Let's see what that looks like now. Whoops. So file, save. Well, I'm just trying to straighten this out a little bit so it looks a little nicer. All right, so 1, Jeff, Scott, 72, 200. All right, I got to move that over. This is now 1 too many. This is good. I like this here. Okay, so these are good. I got to move over the height and the weight. I got to give them, let's give that 3 and give that 2 or something like that. So for height and weight, let's just try 1. And for the BMI, which one was that? For the status. All right, we're getting there. And when I get done with this, as soon as I have it looking the way I want it to look, we're going to stop. And on the next one, I'll finish up everything that's in here. So 1, Jeff, Scott, 72, 200. All right, well, that's got to be moved back. But everything else looks like it works now. So it's like that. So File, Save All. Now, when we first start this, and we start to bring everything in here, yeah, that's write out all statistics. There's the menu. I don't think I need just one here. I don't think I need any there. So let's see if we've got it now. One, Jeff, Scott. Okay, I can put one there, so 7,200. All right, now that works. This has got to be moved over. Everything else is good. So we would write out our statistics. For the first one here, we will put it a couple \n's. We need a \t here. All right, so this has got to be moved over 1. Everything else is looking good. So 1 less here. And let's see. All right, that's looking the way I want it to look. All right, so what I'm going to do when I come back then is write what hasn't been written yet. So right now we've got our input new person record. That's right here. All right, and that calls validate string input, which is right here, and it calls validate int input, which is right here. All right. Then it calls calculate BMI. So we're going to move that. And then it calls calculate BMI status. So we're going to move that. All right. So we've got to do our view all existing records and our clear all existing records. That's what's left. All right. And we've done our exit program or not. That create menu I'm going to move also. All right, that's pretty obvious what that's doing. So what's left? An exit program or not? Our write out all statistics we're going to put in here also. So right after calculate BMI status, we'll put that here. All right. And we don't need is the data valid anymore. It's been replaced. All right. I'll be back to write the view all existing records and the clear all existing records, and we'll have a few more things to say about this in just a couple minutes. Thanks.